Good evening, Dr. Boominathan. It's such a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to interview you, and I'm going to start off with some of our questions. You're such a renowned expert in the area of voice, and you've always advocated and you've encouraged all your students, including me, to find our own niche. How did you find your own niche?
Brilliant question. First of all, thank you so much, Riti, for having me in on the spotlight. Congratulations on a very nice, organized way of how the association is moving. Also, I'm very and I keep track of what is happening, so it's nice. Okay, so to coming to your question of how do you find your niche? Okay, so I was always interested in speech science. I think sometimes. It's your teacher who probably inspire you into some area. So I grew up at Aish, and I'm an alumni of All India Institute of Speech and Hearing at Mysore. So 95 is where I began my career as a first year undergrad student at the institute. Speech science was introduced to us by Dr. Savitri. So she was one of the persons who inspired me to look at speech acoustics. So that is how I grew up at Aish, understanding and trying to figure out uh, what ways we can understand the speech communication aspects and particularly the voice. Voice was something which fascinated me as a student as well. But didn't have much opportunities at Aish to work in voice, though I was all at speech science person. I was all the time in the lab. Anytime I got an opportunity, I would spend with Savitri ma'am and many others at Aish, like Dr. Devi. So I generally kept volunteering in many areas. Several researchers who were working at that time, and several of the PG and PhD students too. Um, Actually, though there was an initial interest in voice, the real energy and the right sort of um, culmination of the energy and the activity happened at Ramachandra only. Okay, so I think I owe it all to Ramachandra for whatever I am today to be visible as a wise person. Okay, so that again, the interest mooted were through the patients who came. So Chennai is a cultural hub. There are several singers. Singing happens very casually in every place, I would say, possibly. December season is very known world over, and people come from every part of the world to Chennai to listen and to sing. So Carnatic singing is very common in Chennai. So several patients started coming in. They started asking several things which I really didn't understand first. Most importantly, I couldn't follow the lingua, the language they spoke, the emotions which came when they were expressing some of the problems. So that is the start, I think. When people looked upon you to provide something and then you really didn't know what to do, then started reading about it, figuring it out, started attending a few classes to appreciate music. That's how it all fell in place. And then I realized that there's too many things to, really look upon and look up to. So I figured the gaps where possibly we could fit in, and I narrowed it down to a particular level, which was possible at that time at Ramachandra. Okay, so one of the gaps I figured was we didn't have data on our own population. So we relied too much on the literature which was available elsewhere. But our problems were different. Um, the the choices which we could provide as management options to people were very different from what was available elsewhere in the world. The expertise level, both in ENT, the medical side, and in our own speech language pathology, was different. So I sort of said, there are so many gaps. Can we all find some ways to fill it up? That's how I started working. And fortunate enough, Ramchandra was also quite encouraging to support this sort of work. I was asked to do many other things, which I kept doing. Okay, so I never refused anything which came as an assignment from either Rupa Madam or anybody from the administration side. But I kept on trying to, hit my interest area. Somewhere I would link everything to voice, and more interestingly, I think I wanted to understand the singing voice. That is how it all fell in place. Now, if I look back, I think we are trying to fill up at least, maybe 10-20% of what was discovered as gap 20 years back. We somehow think that 20% we have moved forward. There's still 80% or more left. So it's a lot more left to do. And so I think this is how I possibly discovered Bionaishariya. From a student to a workplace, I just utilized the opportunity which was available, and I just did something which I could do.
How lovely, sir. It takes a lot for someone at your level, an expert in our field in
That's
India
too
to
much, okay?
say
That's two big words.
to say to be like, no, it's wonderful to come across that combination of wisdom, smartness, knowledge, and humility. And you blew me when you said I was placed in a situation where I didn't know too much, so I had to equip myself, which I think is inspirational for all of us, because learning starts at that point of recognizing where we need to grow. And I also loved how you mentioned, 20 years we've come through, 20%, we have 80 more percent to go. So it's
Maybe
that,
more.
yeah. And it's
I do not
another
know.
thing, yeah. And it's another thing which all of us need to learn, or which I especially look up to you, to say my cup is never full. You can be an expert, but still acknowledging, no, I still have a long way to go, which is amazing. So moving on to our next question. So I've seen you as 20 years back faculty, and now looking back, you're the chair of the department in Ramachandra, and you're the chair elect of SRIHER. Congratulations on that. Can you tell us some of your recent accomplishments, some recent collaboration, and elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, we would say it as accomplishment, then possibly. I think it's an evolution. It's not any accomplishment. It's just a growth, and sometimes we happen to be part of that growth in certain positions of leadership. Okay, so I would like to call it that way only. Nothing is. I owe it to several people who have laid the path for us to travel. Okay, so nothing is made by one person. Okay, and including the dream, I think, is an evolution. I believe in the power of evolution. Okay, so even one's imagination is not their own. It is something which is contributed through many people and many things. So when you asked about, I think I'm happy to share that our department was started in 1995, Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences, at the medical college. It was the first department in Tamil Nadu. So we were the first program to start in 95. Professor Rupa Nagarajan joined the institution in 1998, and we were still a part of ENT. Our first chairperson was Professor Lakshmanan, and he was an ENT person. In 2000, we got an independent status as a department um, away from ENT. We began to be associated with the Faculty of Allied Health Sciences. And Rupa Madam became the next chairperson. Okay, and she worked very hard, almost like I would say um, 20 years to create the facility, create the space, recruit the right sort of people. I think I was a fifth member in the team. Okay, when we started, we started as a two-room. When I joined the institution, we were one corridor. We had more than two rooms. But soon we moved to a facility where we had two floors, and now we are in three floors and different parts of the thing. So in 2020, we celebrated our silver jubilee on 5th October. Suppose that we proposed to the university that we've come a long way from a single adjunct facility to an independent department under Allied Health Sciences. So is there scope for us to grow further? Can you recognize us as a faculty, as an independent faculty? So fortunate enough, and thanks to all the support and the trust the management has, because of the track record which has happened over the years, they believed in us and agreed to provide us a tag as an independent faculty. So we became Sri Ramachandra Faculty of Audiology and Speech Language Pathology. And we became this in June 2022. So last year, just closer to, we are not still 1 year since we are a faculty. Okay, so from an department, we moved into faculty. Subsequent to that, they had asked how we want to develop, and now we are two branches. We have two departments, Department of Audiology and Speech Language Pathology, and I'm designated as the principal of the faculty. So this is just one sort of professional growth at a place where you're working. Ramachandra has been the only place I have worked. Okay, I graduated from Aish, took on my work at Ramachandra, and I continue to be there now a little more than 2 decades now. I think last 23 years I've been only at Ramachandra. So I joined as a tutor. I became a professor in 2010, and now as a principal over 2 decades. So that I think is uh, is an evolution. I would again want to say, not an accomplishment, but it's a growth, and a nice growth for personally for me, and a nice growth I think for several people who have traveled with us. Okay, and so that way I think that is one. Now, when you mentioned about Isha, Indian Speech and Hearing Association, again, I think I have been fortunate to work with several um, leaders of our community in India. Okay, so again, I think around 10 or 15 years, maybe 12 years back, I joined the association in the capacity as an executive committee member, an EC member. In fact, I joined as an ad hoc. Incidentally, I should say, both in Ramachandra and at Isha, I came in as an ad hoc person only. Okay, so maybe that I do not know. This is an incident, but then I moved on to becoming the treasurer of the association, and then later chairperson of committee on you know, uh, educational standards and ethics. So I served on full stint of almost like 9 years, and then took a little break. Wanted to concentrate on uh, activities at Ramachandra. Now, come back to to Isha was as the president-elect this year, where I will take up as president next year at Calcutta conference. So again, this also is a evolution, I think. So I have had opportunities to work with in several aspects of the association. At that time, what was all important we have worked on, and I think we will accomplish certain things Right now, we see that there is a lot more need for professional engagement, professionals to get engaged in the association activities. We want to initiate a dialogue between different uh, branches across the country, make our association stronger at the root levels. The national body is anyway there, but more important is to implement the ideas of the national body at the state level. So we need more interaction, and I also think engaging with the students in different colleges now. We are almost like 75 different programs across the country, and in Tamil Nadu we have around 10 programs as on date. More number of programs will come, and so the association has a big role to play in cultivating the future of the profession. And so we need to engage with both the professionals who are already in the association and the future professionals who will be the students, and to create that capacity building for them to look at their social and professional obligations. Now, each one of us will do our professional activity in our own jobs and or entrepreneurial work, but there is a social and a societal obligation which we all need to commit to our profession at the larger in a larger sense. So, and that should happen in the college level, I think. And many times histories are often forgotten. We don't realize how the several people have created that path for you. And so these have to be remembered, just to not to talk about the glory or not to talk about the hardships, but to know the trajectory and to see how we can grow forward to meet the global changes which are happening across the world. And I think time is ripe for India to get into many of these global activities. And so association will be, I think, we will try to engage in the global level as well. So that's the uh, idea for the to be executed. Hopefully, we'll be able to do something. So these are some things, and I think one other thing which happened this year, incidentally, was my Ratna oration. I was very, very, very privileged and thrilled. I was very happy in two senses. One was um, Dr. Ratna himself was there to listen through the entire oration. So I was very, very honored. And it was a very humbling experience to have all my teachers in front of me, many of them greeting from very far distance. I felt like a celebrity that day. I really felt very special, but at the same time, I was thanking my stars, my blessings on me. I was thanking my teachers who, allowed me to grow into whatever I am, and of course, my family and parents. So that was very uh, happy experience, I should think, and it was nice. And the second thrill in that was I received it from Dr. M.N. Hegde. Dr. M.N. Hegde was the first recipient of Dr. Ratna oration. He may not remember the awards he has got. He's got several awards, Dr. Hegde, but to receive from an accomplished academician was very special. Amidst the other people who were present in the thing in Delhi was very thrilling and nice. I enjoyed it.
Amazing, sir. Thank you so much for sharing this. There's such a wealth of knowledge and history that we get to learn from you, right? When it comes to the trajectory. Speaking of trajectory, so it was a nice transition to our next question. You're an amazing mentor, and amazing to an extent. This is like a full circle for me at this point. And on record, amazing mentor to a point when I was at the lowest in my life. You went to a point to even offer me to pay my fees. So you said, I don't know if you recall that conversation, but you mentioned, Riti, if you do have difficulty, I'm happy to pay your fees or talk to Dr. Professor Rupa Nagarajan, and we are happy to share. To such an extent, to support education and a student who is like nobody, but just to see her through completing her graduation. That's one. And then amazing mentor to another extent where I was also at my lowest point health wise. And I received like, no, your wife was the one who gave me food. So you also fed me literally. What's your mentoring philosophy?
Well, thank you so much, first of all. I don't remember both of these. Okay, I don't remember. I know there were ups and downs, but I know we were with you, but I really don't remember the offers or whatever you're saying. But thank you very much for acknowledging. But anyway, so mentoring philosophy, nothing something. But I think I have been fortunate to have great mentors myself. I have been mentored by several people. And I continue. It's a lifelong process. You get mentored by many around you. You look out and so for me, I mean, if I have to name someone and from where I take inspirations, I would want to call four people in my life who professional life who have guided me at different instances and continue to guide me in different ways. Of course, the beginning, the academic sort of mentoring was by Professor Savitri. So she was always available for students. Students meant so much to her, and all that she did was she never allowed students to wait. Okay, and she was available. So that is something which was important. So making time was the first thing I felt was something somebody gave it to you, so you make time for others too. Okay, so that's important, and I think that is the most valuable repay sort of thing you can give for somebody. Making time. So that is one. So I want to do that. God should bless me in such a way that I will have that thing. And so I don't want people to wait for something. That's important. My life sort of mentor, I think, is Rupa ma'am. Okay, Professor Rupa. So she is amazing herself. What do you say? She sort of is a makeup in all different spheres possible. She's a full packet, which really amazes you to see how can Madam do this sort of a thing. So what I learn from her is to give forward. She keeps on doing that. She never thinks of anything in return, but gives forward. So somebody did to you, you do that to somebody else, and really not thanking. The thank you comes is not so meaningful as you may want to give it to somebody else. Okay, so that is the second sort of thing, which I think, if in any way possible, give it forward. Okay, so that is the second thing. And third is um, sort of Professor Ravi Kumar. He's an amazing clinician, and I was very fortunate to. And the ultimate, whatever you are doing, basically you are a clinician, and you should be available for the patient, and patient care matters maximally, and all your other things will fall in place once your patient care is thorough and complete, and being available. So he keeps on saying, he says ABC is his mantra: being available, behavior, and then comes competence. So availability, behavior, and competence is something which I learned from him. And so, and I believe thoroughly that the best classrooms are actually the clinic. The clinics are your best classroom. And so that is something I follow. And the fourth mentor is, I think, Professor Rajshekar. I think he is. What I would like to say is, Sir also is an amazing energy bomb. You just be in the company of Rajshekhar sir, you feel energized. Okay, so what is nice about us is he's always geared up for innovation. Anything, any change, he never says no. He will always try to see how can you come around to with the available resources, with whatever capacities you have, with whomever you are working with, how can you come around to meet what you need to do that time. So all of us have pluses and minuses, and nobody is perfect really, right? And so you just need to allow people to grow into their capacities, trust in them, and provide opportunities for them. The moment you start creating that, rest all fall in place. Ultimately, many of us travel together by chance, and what you really accomplish is something together. So these are some sort of things which have always guided me to to behave in a way in my roles I have been. So if these are all called philosophies, then I would think these are my philosophies, but there are more than one. So the real philosophy I would think is just uh, being inspired by these great stalwarts themselves, who have great qualities, which thing, and then you imbibe them and do it in your style. You can't be their copy. It just will be, it really will not fit in, because you are a different person. So you need to allow your own style to develop, and you should do in your roles. Being kind and supportive is the only thing anybody can do. Okay, but yet not compromising your values, not letting anything come again in between. So that's how I think I work. That's all.
Thank you so much, sir. All of us know, or anybody who have met you know that you are an inspiration for many of us, many generations, or many cohort who have met you. They'll be like, yeah, no, and would agree to that statement that it's an understatement saying you're an inspiration to many of us. Now,
That's scary. Okay.
now, what are the couple of things if for new professionals, for aspiring professionals who want to make a difference in our profession, if you have to tell us, if you have to tell them two things, what would those two things be?
Believe in yourself. Okay, so it's very important. I mean, I think all of us have the capacity to change the situation we are in. Okay, so believe in yourself, and um, uh, nobody is perfect. So allow imperfections, but learn from these things. Don't settle with imperfections. So that is important. So believing in yourself and the capacity that you can meddle and modulate and change for better is very important. So don't become impatient. So slowly work on it. It will come. That is one. And I think the second important thing I would want to tell is the professional accountability. Okay, so I think it's very, very important. As our herd becomes larger, um, it's very important that we stand united as a team for the profession, and for our people whom we are serving. So, being an advocate of your profession, so important. And so, when you have to be an advocate, you have to be sure that you're doing the right things. So, that is very, very important. In any place you are, you should remember that what you do will have an impact on you and will leave an impact after you. Okay, so it's very, very vital that uh, we think of the posterity, we think of the next generation who will occupy our seats. And so do that in that wisdom only. Don't think for yourself, but think for the future. So these are the only two things I would like to say.
How well said. So, on a lighter note, you're a fantastic artist. What other hobbies do you have?
Oh, okay.
Also, how do you maintain that work-life balance amidst your busy schedule?
Okay. Well, thanks for remembering that I do some drawing and painting. But I mean, I should say my children are greater artists than I are. Okay. So, hobby, of course, was when I drew as a child also. So, I think um, I continue to draw sometime, but I keep forgetting that I should take the paintbrush. Anyway, but colors fascinate me, and I like to see different colors, different shades. I play with them, and when my children do something, I try to do something on that. Other hobbies, nothing in particular. I think work is my hobby, if I would want to say that. I have not got bored with work where I need to switch on, but I like to drive. I go on long drives with family. So anytime on the road, I'm happy. And as long as we want, we will drive and we go in our own comfort. So that is something which we like to do. But otherwise, nothing really. I mean, I listen to music, of course, and all sorts of music I listen to. Nothing in particular. And there's nothing like I like this music, I don't like this music, nothing like that too. So I generally, and when I listen to music, it's just not the music, but most often times the voice reflections comes there. So so that's again work and hobby only sort of thing. So these are the lighter things I do. Otherwise, work-life balance. I mean, I've never felt like uh, I have lost it. So it's not like I make an effort to balance it. Maybe I have a great support system at home. So many times I don't feel deprived, or I don't think people feel deprived. So I've never been complained that I'm not giving enough time at home or at work. So it goes on well so far. So I think um, one advice which I've got from people about work-life balance is to keep yourself fit. Once your energy levels are up, usually you arrive at that balance correctly. And so concentrate on your physical fitness and your regular schedules. I'm an early riser. I've been an early riser all through my life so far. So you get that extra time for things. So automatically, life goes on well. So far, it's gone well. I'm happy.
Thank you so much, sir. So our last question for the day is, what's your vision for our field in the next 5 years? 5 to 10 years. What's your vision?
You are asking particularly for voice, or you think for our speech language
It can
pathology,
be
or
anything. It can be for voice. It can be for our field in general. It can be within India. It can be at a global level.
so
Your
I think I think we are in the right pace now. We are in the right situation for global engagement. So that is the vision I think our field will move towards in the next 5 years. I say that for two reasons. One is I see many of our own people in several parts of the globe in above mid-level career. They're all in their career in the realm of their their contributions. They will be in administrative capacities and capacities where they can influence, change, and create. So the global platform itself will change, I think. So, and India is in the right situation where we can engage correctly with these openings across the world. So I think that is where we will move in the next 5 years. Global engagement for meaningful contributions to the world and from elsewhere to India, to our population. So that is what will happen. And particularly in voice, I think it's a very fascinating field. I'm seeing more and more interest in India, a lot of people, and I'm seeing transdisciplinary engagement there. So, so that is something which is very, very welcoming, and an effort which has started seeing. I'm seeing activities now in the last, an effort which has happened over 10, 15 years now. A lot of focused conferences which allows people to engage meaningfully and intellectually, keeping the patient as a center, the patient care. And so this teaming up approach, patient centered care, a lot of culturally relevant and socially relevant solutions which will happen because of such engagements. Otherwise, technology is available from anywhere, and means are available. But what is relevant to us in our society, to our people, with the belief systems we have come from? It's very important. So that sort of meaningful things, and this becomes a model for many other countries which can be seen. So I think we will evolve as a model for others to emulate too. So I think this is what I see the next 5 to 7 or 10 years maybe. So these are my I hopefully my ask for many other of my colleagues who are working in similar areas, where joint efforts in this direction will keep us all in the right position and in meaningful positions.
Thank you so much, sir. It was such a pleasure seeing you and having this interview with you, and it was an honor. And I couldn't have asked for more. And thank you so much for always being there for any and for all of your students and professionals who know you, and for being a pillar of support in many of our lives.
Thank you, Riti. I mean, you've always been very generous and kind. Every time you speak to me, I always feel like, oh, keep going. And then somebody has to pull me down and say, stay on the ground. It's Riti who's speaking.
Gratitude is the memory of heart, sir. So
Lovely. Well said. I think, being grateful is in itself a great virtue. I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity too. Okay. Thank you very, very much for having me on your show. I hope I have met your expectations. Okay. Thank you so much.